my name is Alejandro Salinas, and this is my audience. Now, there's only one country that's responsible for giving us the pop sensation that is Justin Bieber, the icon that is Celine Dion, and the mean girl herself, Rachel McAdams. I am, of course, talking about the one and only America's good neighbor, Canada. And today I will be discussing just how great Canada is through its exquisite culture and how unique it is. So I have a lot of knowledge on Canada, as one of my good friends is from Canada, and I also have done many research assignments on Canada in the past. So what I'm first going to talk to you about is some of the background information on Canada, and second, I will be talking about some of the culture that can be found within Canada, and lastly, I'll be talking about some of the communication, behavior, and styles that is found within Canada. So to begin, I will be talking about some of the background information on Canada. So one of the things that Canada is actually the second biggest country in the world, right after Russia, and it's the biggest country here in North America. It only has a population of approximately 36 million people, and the capital city is Ottawa, but the most densely populated city in Canada is Toronto. And Canada does not have states like we do here in America, but what Canada does have, it has provinces and it has territories. And the main difference between these provinces and territories is just the way that they're governed. So according to Canada Worldmark Encyclopedia of the Nations, which was edited by Melissa Sue Hill, there's an estimate that the CIA carried back in 2013 that stated that the number of immigrants living abroad was 1.3 million, and the number of immigrants actually living within the country was at 7.3 million. As a result of this, Canada has over 200 different ethnic groups that live within the country, making it one of the most diverse countries in the entire world. And also, according to the Canada Worldmark Encyclopedia of the Nations, edited by Melissa Sue Hill, the CIA also reported back in 2011 that the leading ethnic group in Canada is actually Canadian at 32.2%, and the percentage of this only increases of people that are born outside of Canada, with the next two leading ethnic groups in Canada being of French and British origin. And now that I have provided you some of the background information on Canada, I will be moving on and talking about some of the culture that can be found within Canada. And according to Jo Marie Powers' Canada Encyclopedia of Food and Culture, the diversity in Canada has caused there to be such a big making Canada a really diverse hub of where people come and share their cultures, especially in terms of what kind of food they share with each other. The cuisine in Canada is not necessarily that there's a certain staple dish, but rather that the dishes in Canada are varied by region. So while Canada has a lot of the similar dishes that we have here in America, one of them being having the use of fast food and eating 3 meals a day, there is also some very big differences that they have here in Canada. For example, in Canada, one of the main differences is that Quebec has its own, what they like to call, a distinct cuisine compared to the rest of the nation. What I mean by this distinct cuisine is that a lot of the restaurants over there, they have a lot of French origin to them, so they have a lot of foods such as credons, which is just basically a rich pork pate, or they have tortillas, which is just a meat pie, and they also have this emphasis on using flavorful and tasty dishes because it makes it more fancy in a way. And then also, for another example, in Ontario, this is one of the most diverse cities in the entire nation of Canada, so they like to have what they call a dynamic cuisine, which is just the cuisine is very influenced based on the many different ethnic groups that live within Canada. Because of this, such as from the Underground Railroad, from the World War II, there are many different ethnic groups that live here, and this is why there's such a big different cuisine. That's why they call it being such a dynamic cuisine, because there's not necessarily a certain dish or certain taste in Ontario. It's just a mix of everything. And also, according to the Culturegram's website, which is overseen by the ProQuest LLC company, in the section entitled Canada, about 67% of the population is Christian, and from this, the majority are Catholic at 39% and at Protestant with 20%. despite a majority of them being Christian, Canada is actually a very secularized nation and country. They are very understanding of that not everyone's going to be following the same religion, and they are very open to people being atheists and actually having their own beliefs in religion. And now that I have provided with you some of the culture that can be found within Canada, I will be talking about some of the communication styles of Canada. And the official languages of Canada is English and French. While the English is very dominant within Canada, there are some certain parts of the nation that actually speak French, such as Quebec, and in this area of Canada, they actually carry their own accent, which is, people like to call it Quebecois. Not good at saying it, but also in Canada, the spelling typically follows that of the American standards, like the way that we spell organized with a Z rather than the British way spelling organized with an S. But also Canada tends to follow the spelling of the British standards, such as spelling center with an RE rather than spelling center with an ER. And another thing that Canada is very big on is saying the letter Z as Z rather than saying it as we Americans say Z. And then Canada also tends to use the word A, which is one of like the big like stereotypes that Canada has, is everyone's saying, oh, Canadians just say eh all the time. And usually that just translates into you know. Also, some of the customs and courtesies that they have there in Canada are eye contact is very important, and that's a similarity that we have here in America. Eye contact is very important because it just shows that you're very invested into the conversation. But one of the differences that Canada has that we don't have here in America is how the use of the thumbs down symbol is actually considered rude in Canada, because the way that we use the thumbs down is usually typically as no, but over there they just consider it to be rude, as well as speaking a lot with your hands or pointing at someone with your index finger is considered to be rude in Canada. So now that I have provided you with some of the communication styles and behaviors in Canada, let me conclude. So first, I have given you some of the background information on Canada. Second, I told you some of the culture and cuisine that can be found within Canada. And lastly, I told you some of the communication behaviors that was found within Canada. And while Canada shares a close resemblance to that of America, it has its own way of making itself distinct and compared to the crazy that is America. Thank you.